No. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Okay, I'm not used to this whole praying thing. I'm just looking for someone to talk to. I've been with Molly ever since she was brought into the hospital. To think all of this started because we were holding hands. Molly, I could still feel the lightness that your hands brought me. But because we were holding hands, it's considered an abomination. Coming out is one of the first steps of the queer experience in being confident with who you are. But we're seeing the massive rise of negative coming out experiences like Next Benedict, a 16-year-old non binary teen from Oklahoma who was assaulted by three of their peers in the school bathroom and ended up dying the next day. These life-threatening and life-altering experiences makes queer youth like myself absolutely terrified for our future, if we even live long enough to have one. This is for all the queer kids who never got to tell their stories because of all the hate crimes and violence that our society is normalizing, instead of taking precautions to protect our youth, regardless of who we love or how we identify. My Tiny Dancer Hands by Cynthia Resabel. I can remember the exact day I fell in love with Molly. We had been at a bonfire and were sitting next to each other until she heard Elton John's Tiny Dancer come onto the radio and she leapt up with excitement. I remember her moving her brown curls from off of her face and slowly moving to the music's melody as she lifted her hands towards the sky and closed her eyes as if she was taking in the night's perfection. She is so simple, so laid back, and so completely selfless. She cares for people who may not even deserve her sympathy. The kind of people who mock her, she gives sympathy to. The kind of people who say stuff behind her back, she gives sympathy to. And the kind of people who cause her pain, she gives sympathy to. Who Molly is as a person doesn't matter to them. What matters is whose hand she was holding. And they didn't like it. I remember reading an article about a man named Preston being interviewed about his elementary school experience in Decatur, Alabama. In his PE class, his classmates enjoyed a game similar to dodgeball called Smear the Queer. Preston asked to change the game, but his teacher said no. But you can be the queer for the day. And so, for the rest of class, Preston's classmates chased him, throwing dodgeballs at him, all because he was the designated queer. And some people may say that being a homosexual, it's immoral and it's unnatural. Okay? So how is treating someone in such an obscene way natural? And how is beating someone up badly enough to knock them into a coma natural? Because whenever I see Molly in this hospital bed with bruises all over her face and her arms and her legs, I feel hopeless. I mean, we've dealt with people calling us names in the past, dykes, lesbos, queers, faggots, but we never let it get to us. Because they were just words. Molly would always take my hand and smile at me. It was her way of telling me that everything was going to be okay. One time, after Sadie McDowell told me that my reasoning for being a lesbian because I was a ugly butch girl who can't find herself a boyfriend, Molly would always take my hand and smile at me. You know? And she would always say, there is nothing that we can't go through as long as your hand is in mine. and it would have been the perfect surprise. It was Valentine's Day, the day the day she ended up here. Me and Molly couldn't have an actual Valentine's Day date because I had to go to work as soon as school got out. But I promised her I'd take her to the fanciest restaurant in town as a belated Valentine's Day gift. Well, it was around 10 p.m. when I got home that night, and I was getting ready for bed as I usually do when I heard a knock at the door. When I went to open the door, there was no one there. But then I looked down and I saw a teddy bear with the words, I love you, engraved on its little tummy, and a folded up note next to the bear. The note said, I couldn't wait for tomorrow. I wanted you to know how happy I am to have you as my Valentine. I love you, Ingrid. But that's when I heard the screams coming from down the street. They they were waiting for Molly by her car. And and because she was alone, because it was dark, and because she was out of sight, because Molly's a lesbian, and because Sadie and her gang of homophobic friends, they decided to play their own game of smear the queer, and because her hand wasn't in mine is why the world's friendliest girl and the love of my life is lying here in a coma. And I wish that there was peace, like the vision in my mind. Peace like grass, peace like sunbeams, peace like doves in olive branches. And I see Molly in a white sundress that falls down from her shoulders. God, how I wish this image would stay for forever. And then I see her dancing. Dancing as if all of the pain she's feeling is invisible. And she holds out her hand, motioning for me to come join her. Hold me closer, is what my tiny dancer says. And I'm tempted. I'm tempted to take her hand and get lost within this beautiful love song. But this Molly doesn't need me. It's this Molly who needs me. And as much as I long to feel that peace, as much as I long to just escape it all, it's the real Molly who needs to feel that peace. And if there's one thing I can do, it's to stay by her side, hold her hand, and hope. Hope that she wakes up. Molly, please, can you hear me? Because if you can, there's nothing that we can't go through as long as your hand is in mine.